think I might touch upon a subject that I haven't touched upon in any of my videos yet, for no other reason other than the fact that I haven't thought of making a video about the subject, and I just happen to be watching a video about the subject. Wrestling. I don't know if I'd call it a guilty pleasure. I'm quite proud of the fact that I was a wrestling fan growing up, and I still have fond memories of watching wrestling in the 90s through to the early 2000s. I stopped watching maybe about 2003, 5, something. Yeah, probably maybe 2006, thereabouts. It stopped. It became unwatchable around the mid 2000s, I think, and then it's had some. I've stopped in from time to time in recent years, and they've had some pretty decent plots that I've casually followed in the last year or two, but it's just not the same product that I grew up watching. I have nothing really. I'm not revealing anything that the world doesn't know about wrestling. It's one of those weird things, isn't it? You either love it or you think it's absolute shite. I watched it way back in the early 90s. We used to go to video shops, and you could watch. They still had all the pay-per-views from the 80s on VCR, and so I would watch those. Well, probably, might be incriminating my old man. My old man used to do that thing where you hook up two videos with a cable thingy and tape from one VCR onto a blank tape. So I had, all these videos pirated that I'd watched over and over and over and over again. All the best matches were like staticky as hell because they'd just been absolutely flogged. And what a way to grow up. Looking back now, it's probably the precursor to today, where kids don't grow up in front of out in nature. All my friends used to love going out riding bikes and stuff like that. I'd be sitting at home watching wrestling, and then if I wasn't watching wrestling, I was on the early Encarta. Before the internet was the thing, you used to have the Encyclopaedia Encarta. That's showing my age. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically an encyclopedia that was on a disc, a CD-ROM, and had all the stuff that a series of encyclopedias would have. So I'd just sit there and read all sorts of stuff about World War II. So I was a massive nerd. I'd read about World War II, World War II was my jam, not so much World War One, but a little bit. Different countries, I was excited. I was always interested in other countries and other cultures, and what do they do there? Particularly, what are their armies like? What are they? What sort of warplanes do they fly? Anyway, I'm getting away from the wrestling type of thing, but that was my two main things. I was a nerd on the Encarta, and I was a wrestling nerd as well. And kids these days, they ask what was it like growing up in the 90s, and it just felt normal, I guess. I think growing up today would be a much stranger thing, but we used to sit in front of the TV, whereas today they sit in front of a telephone and look at things that are probably multiple times more detrimental to the noggin. And yeah, I don't. Perhaps it's about time I ask to, drop a like and subscribe if you think I'm on the money here. But yeah, wrestling was pretty cool. We, I 100% think our TV was much better than them days. They weren't so realistic, you know what I mean? You can't watch TV these days without sitting there getting sucked into an entire series and watching, 1,000 episodes in, a day and a half. Back in them days, you'd set the timer and you'd be, you'd have the tape running for your favourite shows if you missed them, and then you might watch them before the next episode comes, otherwise you fucking missed it. Wasn't like today. You can watch whatever you want, whenever you want, and with whomever you want. So anyway, drop a like and subscribe. Do you think I'm on the money? Do you think the 90s were better? Do you think maybe you were older than me? Maybe you're a 70s child or an 80s child. Perhaps you're a baby boomer and you grew up in the great time of the 60s, which I'm actually, I'm a big fan of 60s music. It was well before my time, but I really enjoy that. And I love the 50s music. I love the blues from the Chicago stuff right back to the old country blues in the 30s. I'm an old soul, I guess. But yeah, what do you reckon? Who had the best music? Who had the best TV? Is wrestling as good today as it was in the 90s and the early 2000s? I don't think so. Anyway, today's a beautiful day to be alive. It's Wednesday the 12th of November 2025.